I can't. Oh, there it is. So I couldn't see if the recording was there or not. That was the thing. It was like my my mouse when it was hovering usually pops up like the recording box, and it wasn't showing up, so I didn't know if it was recording or not.
What a long-winded answer.
Hey, I'm just doing whatever I can to avoid having to talk about this because I don't even know what we're doing here. The season's over. I mean, what's the point? What's the point of even recording anymore, right?
No, we got to get one more in. The fans want to hear what we have to say.
About what?
We about MLS Cup recap. We
Oh,
previewed it. We got a
I
recap.
literally never heard of her. Like, I don't
Yes,
know
you
what
have.
you are talking about.
I just watched you watch the end of the game.
What do you mean? I didn't watch anything. I have already lost it from my mind.
The amount of times I
Um,
heard you mention Guido's name, I know you watched the game. What other
bro,
Guido are you talking about?
bro, we have a lot to talk about regarding Guido Gonzalez Jr., who isn't even fit enough to ref my Sunday league games,
And
let
there we
alone
go. See, I
MLS
told you
Cup.
watched the game.
Bum. Clearly, he was the reason we lost.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the fact that your attackers were absolutely I can't even think of a word. That's how useless they were.
Yeah. Well, hello everybody. If you couldn't tell, this is the Designated Players, an MLS podcast, and we are here to round up a relatively disappointing MLS Cup final.
Not for me.
Nobody asked you. This isn't for you.
Not yet. You will ask me.
Yeah, you think this is just me ranting for 45 minutes. You won't say a single word. Um, yeah, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it live. So we didn't have a live stream going. But I did get a chance to watch it back as soon as my games were over. I've taken some notes here. We'll just talk a little bit about it, and yeah, I'm numb, so I'm not my
Okay,
usual cheery
relax, Lincoln
hippie
Park.
self. I'm not my usual chippy self, so
Oh yeah,
uh,
because you're always so chippy and
so
cheery.
chipper, and
The third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. Relax over there.
please, nobody, bro. David Wright's so far clear. Let's be
Well,
real.
yeah, obviously he's clear, but
Oh man. Well, I'm here with Connor. Connor is vibing off of the anti-Red Bull establishment right now.
oh yeah.
Connor, how you doing?
I'm doing so great. I'm wonderful. I was celebrating so much every time the Galaxy would score. I scared my girlfriend every time I would yell or clap. But it was a way better game than I thought it was going to be. I know we'll get into the details, but I was nervous throughout that entire game. Like it was a close game. And that's not the way I had predicted it. So I'm glad it was a better game as a third. Well, I can't even call myself a third party neutral because I was actively rooting for the Galaxy to beat the Red Bulls. But for someone who doesn't have their favorite team in the championship game, it was a good game to watch.
It was really close to what you predicted, wasn't it? You said it was gonna be 3-1, but 2-1 for most of the game, and they were gonna hit us on the counter when we were pressing. It was very close.
It could have been that, but
Yeah, you
I
were.
don't know. They didn't
I'm
want
literally
us.
sit. I was sitting there, and unfortunately, I knew the score. I tried so hard not to catch it, but I had an app glitch on Apple TV. Which, by the way, I could do a whole 45 minutes now on why Apple TV needs to go after that debacle that I just had.
Why the
Um,
Apple TV deal is terrible for MLS.
I got a new title.
The switch up
um,
is crazy.
yeah. The I unfortunately knew the score going into the game, even though I tried so hard not to. But even if I didn't, I would have sat there and been like, I'm sitting there thinking, man, Connor's going to get this right. I'm never going to hear the end of it. Connor's going to get this right. I'm never going to hear the end of it. And luckily it didn't happen. But, listen, it's an unfortunate result for a fortunate playoff run, is the way I'm going to phrase that. We weren't supposed to be here. We showed that we were a lot deeper and a lot more resilient than most people took us for. And honestly, I think it comes down to, a couple of personnel issues that we had. Andres Reyes getting sick 2 seconds before kickoff, and the coaching decisions that came after that, and leading up to the game. I think we were just a little bit more outplayed, a little bit more outclassed, and we'll get into the details here a little bit. And it was disappointing to say the least on a impressive cup final run. So. But before we do that, of course, we had to go score for the week, so I will let Connor go first.
Yep. So I have a little special one today. I decided that I would take the L that the LA Galaxy gave you and tack it onto your scarf. So let me present my little I'll call it my school project here. You are now, let me zoom in there, the Red Bull with a third L.
That is elite. I can't even be mad at that.
Well, I don't have a Galaxy scarf. I actually thought I ordered one, but I did not. So I will now though that they won the championship. So Galaxy scarf incoming. You can put the loading like a loading screen gift there.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm not doing that much
Editor's
editing.
notes, put in loading screen gift.
Yeah, sorry. You must forget that I don't edit that deep anymore. So, um, yep, I was rocking the same scarf I rocked in Orlando. Hold on, it's wrapped around my headphones. That's better. Yep, same scarf. Tried to keep the tradition going, and didn't work. So, um, yeah, I think we could probably sit here and talk 50 minutes about Guido Gonzalez being a bum. Um, but maybe we just start about the fact that the curse of that so Metro that had been so strangely absent in this playoff run finally came back and said hello in
Mhm.
the MLS Cup playoff final, presented by Audi, of course.
They were actually talking about the curse. I mean they didn't mention Caracola
Caricola, Caricola,
specifically, but
yeah.
they did mention the curse. They were talking about Red Bull and the curse and whatever MLS Cup playoffs and all that. So they might have also, kind of pushed it into existence too. So if you want to point fingers, you could point it to the broadcast team.
Yeah, well, listen, I have no problem pointing at the broadcast team. Taylor Twellman, easy, easy. And that gets me followers on Twitter because there's a whole hive of them over there that all I got to do is say one bad thing and boom, we're following you. No, listen, like I tuned in um, and I'm kind of watching the procession go as I'm trying to catch up to the game. And I see Noah Isla walking out with the starting 11. And I'm like, what?
That's weird.
That's not how that's supposed to roll. And then as the game kicks off, they're like Andres Reyes throwing up on the sideline right before opening kickoff. I'm like,
Man's clearly never heard of puke and rally, and it shows. Get this man
who
on the field.
who
Just
are
throw up
you?
and get out there. Use it to your
Uh,
advantage, maybe. Like Jovic is about to go score a goal, just throw up right in front of him. Ball slips on it, he misses, you save a goal.
it's it's something. But yeah, listen, he gets pulled for Noah Isla, and this is where I think there were a couple things I think Sandro Schwarz got wrong. Noah Isla as a central center back was the wrong decision, right? The big part about this back three that had been so strong was that that center back could handle anybody coming through the middle with physicality and with tenacity, strong in the air, and doesn't have to do a lot of work, on the ball, which is not for Noah Isla's strength, right? He's better in open space 1v1 instead of trying to deal with things in the middle. He's better on the outside. He's a better ball progressor than any center back we've got. And his skills were not put to use in this substitution. Now, after the second goal, they flip flopped Sean Dealis and Noah Isla, and they were relatively neutralized through the middle for the rest of the game. So first and foremost, it feels like that was the wrong call.
No, 100%. I mean, Ilo was like two different players in the first half and the second half. And genuinely could have been an entirely different game if Reyes is in there in that central center back spot instead of Isla. Because I mean he was the one I think that kept Paintsville on side for the first one. I don't remember if he played it. I mean, you could point the finger at a number of people on the second goal. Nobody decided to step up to Jovic and let him do whatever he wanted. But in the second half, he was a lot better on the outside. Granted, I didn't focus much on him in defensive duties, but him being on the outside, just being a ball playing center back, I mean, he was making really. He was there. Honestly, I'd say he was Red Bull's best playmaker in the entire second half. The only one making like any sort of dangerous passes. He was constantly finding the runs in behind. It was clear that the switch was like a big plus for him.
Yeah, so that was one of the first things that I think he got wrong, and he credit to him, he was good on the quick flip. He didn't let it sit till halftime. He changed it right then and there, and that's a good sign out of him. But let's go to the other side of the game for a second. And the entire conversation I was on with Goals TV. We were talking about it on Twitter. We were talking about on Blue Sky. Who replaces Ricky Puig? And the answer was always, is it going to be Marco Reus? Is it going to be Diego Fagundes? Is it going to be Marco Reus? Is it going to be Diego Fagundes? Never once in any conversation did anybody say Gaston Brugman. And I'm very, very certain Red Bull did not prepare for him because he was an absolute menace and he hurt us. He was very, very good today. And I don't think they prepped for him to be an option. That's the way it felt. It almost felt like they were caught off guard by him coming in there instead of being okay. We're gonna have to deal with a Marco Reus or a Diego Fagudez because Brugman has not played a ton this year, so they didn't. It's not like they had a ton of tape from like the playoff games or whatever. They were just trying to figure out, you know, okay, how are we gonna deal with this guy? And again, this isn't. We talked about this in the preview. This isn't some academy kid coming off the bench being like, okay, well, let's see how he can do it. This is a guy we put as a top five, number six, number eight player in the league coming into the season. It's not, you know, it's something that you had to prep for. I'm just looking here. He played 23 times in MLS, but a total of roughly 1,200 minutes, give or take, all season. Mainly after he got that injury, he had he missed a third of the season, right? Yeah, he torched us, right? And it also doesn't help that we didn't have our designated player center midfielder in Carballo, right? But I think you mentioned it that Edelman and Stroud were, not great. And my notes here said they were overmatched, right? They were aggressive, they're young, high energy guys who just want to get involved, get involved, get involved. And all it took was Cerrillo, Delgado, and Brugman to do one combination split and took them completely out of the play. And then Brugman's like, "Oh, bet no Ricky Puig, no problem. Here you go, Paintsill." Slides him right in behind, and Carlos Cornell picked a really bad time to go back to being a preseason goalkeeper who can't save anything, because that was I could have saved that, and I haven't played in goal in a while. But yeah, Brugman hurt us today.
Yeah, I mean, it should be surprising. Like you said, like it's a guy that at one point in time we had rated super highly. And I mean, say what you want about our track record of predicting things, but um, clearly a very talented player. And to have that option off the bench is incredible. And I think this was a tale of two depths, honestly, is like a key player missing from both teams. And you could tell the difference between the guys that had to step in and fill those shoes. Like Brugman comes in for Ricky Puig, MLS MVP or MLS Cup final MVP. Isla comes in for Reyes, and even though Isla was much better in the second half, he was a bit of a mess in the first half, and ultimately that cost you because those were the two goals where you couldn't fight back from. So even just 20 minutes of mistakes can be the difference between winning a MLS Cup final and losing it. And so like having that depth, having the right piece to come in is so important. And it just shows how important it is to get the depth right. And I know that there's like a whole separate conversation to be had on financial restrictions and how much can teams actually build up depth. But I feel like the best teams find ways to get a deep team. And I think the Galaxy was one of those teams, and it paid off big time here in the final.
Did Brugman really win MVP?
He did. Yeah.
That's that's not who I would have given it to, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think you probably could have went one of two options. I don't think he was a bad choice.
no,
He
no,
wouldn't have
no,
been
no,
my
not at
choice
all.
though. Maybe that's our segue. I'm sure you and I would have the same choice as to who would be MLS Cup Finals MVP.
Yeah, listen, Emil Forsberg probably, right?
Oh yeah, all like 7 touches he had in the first half.
No, listen, we need to talk about this dude, Carlos Garces. That dude is a dude. He absolutely bossed us. I mean, Not even. We turned it up a little bit in the second half. We got some chances. We created some opportunities, um, and he sniffed out like two or three really good chances that should have been at least shots on goal. And we didn't even get a chance because his recovery speed was fantastic and his last ditch tackle ability, for lack of a better term, was out of this world. If I am LA and I don't know if they have one included, if there's a purchase option, it's triggered right now. Like it's there is no announce it tomorrow. Like as we are speaking, it should be triggered because that was the best performance I've seen against our attack, mainly because we don't get a lot of attacking options anyway. But he shut down anything that we had. It was great.
Oh yeah, he was. Oh, just there is a purchase option, so would
Good.
imagine they're probably going to exercise that option. Yeah, he was phenomenal today. Honestly, I think if any other center back was in there paired with Yoshida, Red Bull probably get at least one more goal. So he was a massive difference. I think I personally would have had him as my MLS Cup Final MVP, but that's not flashy and people don't like that. So of course it wasn't going to be a defender. It had to be somebody either playmaking or scoring the goals. So um, it's not surprising that he wasn't, but he would have been my pick. He was all over the place. He looked really, really good. Um, Couple of, like you said, really crucial tackles to keep LA in the lead. And yeah, like I said, I think if this is like Caceres, I think if this is Neil, if it's, I don't even know if Mavinga's still on the team, but if he was still here, like any other option there, I don't think Galaxy are winning. It would be an entirely different game. I won't say that they wouldn't win it in regular time because I think the game would completely change, especially if Red Bull scored another goal. But it would have been a totally different ball game, and I think Red Bull would have been much more in the game.
How many times have you tried to get back into the gym, but gave up because you couldn't track your progress or you didn't even know where to start? I know consistency has always been an issue for me, leading to the start and stop phase of going to the gym, working out for a few sessions, and then just giving it all up before trying it all again in 6 months and getting the same exact result.
Well, today's episode sponsor, Alpha Progression app, is perfect for all levels of gym users, from those starting out for the very first time to the most experienced lifters out there.
The Alpha Progression app is the go-to app for anyone trying to maximize muscle gain. It's a science-based app developed by serious lifters with personal training and competitive bodybuilding experience.
Alpha Progression has been recognized not once, but twice as the app of the day by Apple and are the top rated fitness app in Germany, starting its expansion overseas to the US.
I've actually given this app a try myself, and the amount of detail that you can work with is insane. Its user interface is so easy to use, even with the amount of features that it has in this app. You can choose from a quick workout logger or have the app build you a plan based on the type of training you want, the muscle groups you want to focus on, how often you plan to work out, even the splits of what you want to work out and what you want to hit on which days. It is so in depth, it's crazy.
There are over 1,000 trillion input combinations, so you will never get bored doing the same workouts day after day, and the quality is amazing. The plans they created measure up to the best personal trainers in the world. Even professionals who cost $500 per month say that they set their plans up the same way Alpha Progression does.
And not to mention, their algorithm continues to track you as you work out, and it links your workouts together, recommending solid progressions to ensure long-term success.
Instead of paying trainers who cost $7,000 a year, you can get the Alpha Progression app for just $12.99 a month or $80 a year. I'm no mathematician, but that's almost 90% less than what you would pay those overpriced trainers.
Are you not sold yet? Sign up with a 2-week free trial to see if it works for you. And once you are hooked and ready for the full thing, get yourself 20% off the first payment with our discount code. Head over to alphaprogression.com/the DP pod, save some money, and start working to your dream self today.
The other part that I think we got wrong is that in Orlando, one of the first notes that I took was Red Bull need to stop pretending that they can do 20 pass sequences out of the back to get scoring chances. We're just not that team. We don't have that talent. We don't have that ability. And LA just sat in when they started seeing us try to possess the ball, and they were like, absolutely have at it because we're going to pick a pocket. And in the first 25 minutes, it's exactly what they did. They said, have it. It was my opinion that they should have tried to go direct, be a little bit less, I'm going to use the term cute on the ball, go direct, settle into the game, right? Absorb the pressure, get a tackle or two in there. Like, stop getting so high up the pitch until you can start figuring out where the movements are going to be and what Brugman brings to the game and what Heck and Paintsel are going to do, which we you should have known to come, to begin with. But the amount of times I saw us try and possess out of the back and on the fifth or sixth pass of not going forward because we don't know how to go forward, it's only side to side, we get picked and now we're getting transitioned. It really set in this mindset for me. And again, I wish I didn't know the score because it would have made it a little bit more interesting to watch. But it gave this feeling of like, we're not in this, right? You combine that with the Coronel stinker in the first 10 minutes of the game, and you're like, you you just felt like we didn't build into the game. Now the second half, completely different story, but the way you start these games is so important, right? You can't start these games poorly and just be okay. And it felt like that took a lot of the wind out of our sails in the first half where, yeah, we scored the goal, but could we have done a little bit better in building belief in ourselves, right? Yeah, we can hang with these guys. We can do that. Before the second half, could we have gotten it at 25 minutes, it just that hurt for me. I didn't like seeing that.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's even more impressive in my opinion that like at least Rebel was able to kind of like fight their way back into the game a little bit. I thought 2-0, honestly. I was telling her, my girlfriend too, I'm like, this is gonna be a blowout. Like they're dead in the water, like confidence gone. But I feel like Rebel battled back well. I mean, they got their set piece, right? They scored. They did what they do best. I think what was it, 5 of their 7 goals in the playoffs are from set pieces. So
Mhm.
it's where they were gonna probably be most competitive. I think they said Galaxy are historically, at least with this season, pretty bad at defending set pieces. So really big opportunity for them. They took advantage. They got the goal. I think that was a huge boost of confidence for them because right after that goal too, like Red Bull were dominant. Like they were the more aggressive and hungrier team at that point. And obviously, like, to some extent they had to be. You're still down a goal. But I felt like even throughout the rest of the game, like, yeah, Galaxy had chances and stuff, but they were kind of doing the right thing and playing defensive and countering when you have the lead in a game like this. But Red Bull looked to be the more like on the ball, more possession, more passes, like stringing together a little bit more of the attack. And maybe I thought, with the first 2 goals going in, that it would just be kind of like, we're done. It's over. Like we're away, 2-0 down already, mistakes from multiple different people. Like that's it. We're done. It's over. But they I think credit to them. I think they battled back pretty well and kept it close.
Yeah, listen, and maybe this is just me being disappointed with the result and having a really sad outlook right now. But they did. They came back, and realistically, we're a Emil Forsberg post away from going into extra time, right? We still needed some help. We needed Noah Isla to come up big in 1v1 scenarios. We needed Carlos Cornell to come up big, and we had our chances. We very easily, and this is something we were saying in the preview, like this wasn't a Galaxy team that was unstoppable, right? They had their flaws, and we had our opportunities to put them away, and we didn't take them. And it was, I see, when you stepped away there, I just kind of scrolled through Twitter and I see some people saying that we deserved more. I saw some people saying that it was an instant classic. Again, I feel like if I didn't know the score before watching the game, I'd have a different reaction to it. And that's why I'm really upset that I had that TV bug that screwed me because I really wanted to watch this clean. But the final take I'll say is we are a better team than our record showed during the regular season. We showed defensive grit, we showed team buy-in, and we showed that this is a group that believes in what they're doing. They believe in their coach, they believe in the system. Who moves on and who replaces them is going to be a really, really big task, and replacing them is going to be a really, really big challenge. I don't know if I'd say we deserved more. It didn't feel like we deserved more. But again, maybe that's me just looking back as a disappointed result, but it didn't feel, in the second half, yeah, we had more chances and what have you, but I think that was by design, right? They intentionally sat in, they intentionally wanted us to have the ball so that we would make the mistake and they'd transition, right? It was the same way in the first half. They just hurt us in the first half. But yeah, I don't know if I'd say we deserved more out of this. Maybe extra time, with some of the chances we had, but even the chances that we had outside of one or two of them, they didn't come from domination with the ball. They weren't really top chances. I mean, we had the Forsberg chance, and then we had the one at the very end. I think it fell to Corey Burke, who had it blocked, again by Garces, I think. We had moments, but it never felt like we were, one touch away, right? It never felt like we were right there. It felt like, yeah, we're always just getting lucky. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, I would say and I hate to say this because I don't like boosting your ego too much, but I do agree with you. I think on both fronts, I think it's hard to say like, oh, we should have gotten more out of this game because you could turn around and say the exact same thing at the Galaxy too, because
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's a Noah Isla last ditch tackle. It's a Yamane shot off the post. So
Hmm.
you could kind of go both ways and be like, oh, what could have been.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to just finish your chances, and even if it takes some luck, like so be it.
And I
Um,
think I think that's where my gut is like, yeah, we had our chances, but they had a ton of them too. Like it's
mhm.
not like we dominated the game and it's not like we were Columbus where Columbus dominated us 75%, like 25 shots and couldn't find the back of the net. Like we had our chances, no doubt, but so did they. You're right. I forgot about the Yamane post, the Noah Isla challenge on Peck,
Mhm.
the Coronel save on Joveljic, had a couple of saves on Joveljic actually. I mean, it's not like we just dominated the hell out of them. So, as
Yeah,
much as we could have put the ball away, they could have too. Yeah.
yeah, and the second part I agree on is the buy-in and all that. I think it showed like what a good system and a buy-in and like good team chemistry can do for a team. The only thing I will say though is I think it also showed how far exactly that can take it. Like you can only
Hmm.
get to a certain point with all that. You gotta have like the technical talent on the team as well. And you got a little bit of it with like Forsberg, but just not enough, and I think this is where you kind of ran out of steam when you come up against a team that does have that technical talent plus the buy-in and all of that, like the LA Galaxy have. So I'm interested to see what Red Bull do as well. They have a good core in place. I think Schwarz is a good coach. I think they just need to get a little bit more like talent into the team. And I'm sure you and Red Bull fans are not holding your breath on that one happening, but I don't think you're far off from being a very, very good team. I think there's a really good core in place and a good system and a good buy-in. Just need one or two more Emil Forsberg type technical talented players and you're there. Or maybe figure out how to fix Dante Van Zier.
This just goes to show you, right? Getting your big signings matters, right? Peck and Paintsil are guys, man. They are just the guy.
Hmm.
And Tolkien, Harper, both Neelises, they couldn't deal with them, right? They were on another level, and I think you put it perfectly. Yeah, we've got a good core, we've got buy-in, we've got young talent, right? But it only takes you so far when you go up against guys like that. It just does. It's just the reality of the game, right? Now, on any given day, sure, yeah, you can pull one or two out, but you're out of 10, you're probably losing 8 or 9 of those games, right? And that's not a good enough ratio for me to be like, yeah, I'm hyped. But 35-year-old Eric Choupo-Moting,
That's the game changer we're
that's the
talking about
guy.
here.
That's my guy.
You're gonna have two
Um,
people up top now not pressing or playing any defense.
yeah, tell me about it. But yeah, listen, like I mean, there's a laundry list of players that might not be back next year, right? Lewis Morgan might be gone. John Tolkien might be gone, even though I don't think John Tolkien is ready to be gone. But that's another conversation for another day, right? There are a couple players in there. I mean, maybe Van Zier moves on, like we were just talking about. There are a handful of players that this might have been their last game in a Red Bull kit. But again, it goes to show you got to hit on these players. Peck and Payne, so they dropped 20 mil each. Red Bull spent 20 mil in the last 4 or 5 years on Luquinhas, Van Zier, Forsberg, Isla.
Patrick
Like,
Klimala.
yeah, I knew I was forgetting one. Thank you. I needed that. Um, and you can see that money doesn't matter. It's hitting on the players that you've brought in that matters. So I love the Red Bull system because contractually I'm obligated to say I love the Red Bull system. But we have not hit like Red Bull spend money. I mean, that's the thing is Red Bull are spending money, no doubt. But no, we are not doing a great job at finding that talent. As I said, we had Felipe Carballo, who was our leading scorer in the playoffs, and or joint leading scorer, I should say. And he's only on loan. He might not be here next year, right? So you're looking at starters: Morgan, Van Zier, Carballo, and Tolkien. That's 4 out of 11 starters. And who knows what happens with Coronel now, right? I mean, he had a pretty decent end to that year. There might be people coming for him too. So I mean, this isn't a team that nobody's going to touch or they're not going to blow up for money because this is the Red Bull after all. So I just kind of was putting a tweet out after I did the rewatch, right? Like I've got I've got a lot of emotions that I need to process on this because this was a roller coaster of a year. I mean, there were points where we thought we were going to challenge for Supporter Shield, all the way to the point where we thought we weren't even going to make the playoffs. And then we got into the playoffs, and nobody thought we'd be here. Every last minute win, the Derby win, being in Orlando. I mean, just emotion after emotion. And I think the way I summed it up was like I was proud for the depth of this run and for their grit and tenacity. I was disappointed with the result. I've got some hope for the future, but I'm also anxious for what this team looks like next year, right? Who leaves? Who do we have lined up to come back in? I just saw that outside of the Eric Choupo-Moting, we had to balance out old with young. We just signed 15-year-old Ahmed Mehmeti from the Red Bull Academy, who is the third best 09 behind Kayvon Sullivan and some guy from New England, I think. So, yippee.
Woo! That's a
Like,
Red Bull signing if I've ever seen one.
yeah, like I can't, I just,
He'll be on
you
the
know,
bench next year with Julian Hall. They could be doing
yeah.
TikTok dances on the sideline.
Stop that. Like I said, I've just got a whole bunch of things I need to deal with, and I'm glad we got to record this right after because I did want to get my like honest reactions out there because this was a season that I could not put into words. Like if you told me at the beginning of the season, you gave me the script and said this is how it's going to roll out, I'd say rewrite it because that's not realistic enough for me. So I'm again I love the club. I love everything they do. They have given me something to really latch on to as a fan. They're my club. So just really really interested to look forward to what this looks like and how does Red Bull respond. I think is the last thing I want to talk about is like, is this going to be oh yeah, we overachieved with what we did, so we're not going to invest and we're just gonna, you know, roll with what we've got. We're gonna sell on and we're gonna just try and sneak into the playoffs again and do it again. Or do they realize, man, we really were just one piece away, one or two pieces away from winning a title with this team, which is, I mean, the streets are saying that this is the best Red Bull team in the conglomerate right now. So, do they
Are you
start
the
caring about
streets?
us?
Are you the streets?
Are the streets in the room with us? Um, but do they start caring about us? Have we jumped Bragantino? I don't know. Maybe. Have we jumped Salzburg? Probably not. Should we have? Yeah, probably. You know, do they look at this and say, man, this really could be one of our top teams, and we can start using their success to recruit other players and start, advancing them through our pipeline from there. Like I don't know. But this has been the best year of support I've had since 2018, probably. So it's been nice to hope and care again.
Wow, that was a great homage to your team. I'm glad we can all bask in your, I don't know. I can't think of nice words to say right now. Do I think Red Bull is going to change their Red Bull way? No, not frankly. I think the Choupo-Moting signing feels like, yeah, we're just going to go down the same direction we usually go. So here's some 15-year-old aging Bundesliga player, and good luck, make it work. and we're also going to sell off all your good players, and you can find people in the academy. That's I feel like that's the cycle of the Red Bull. I wish I can give you more optimism than that, but having recorded with you for so long and been friends with you for so long, I've gotten to see the Red Bull from a third person, and even I know from that experience that the Red Bull way is not changing.
No, no. Which is disappointing, but what's fun is that this is the end of our fifth season, give or take. I mean, we still have a couple episodes to fill out, but we start up again in 8 weeks. Champions League is back in 8 weeks, baby. So, not too much of a break for us, and by us I mean MLS in general, right? We will be back bigger and stronger than you know it. 2025 feels like it's going to have a lot of momentum and a lot of big moves. So, look out for, who knows, maybe 14-year-old center mids at this point. I mean, who knows what we're going to bring in.
Yeah, Red Bull could be pushing the boundary on how young of a player they could bring into their team.
Legally. Oh man. Well, you got any more you want to share on the cup? I almost feel like I need to rewatch it again. Take it
I got
back
nothing
in.
else to share on the cup. No.
No, I don't either. So, yeah, thanks everybody for listening and for listening all season long. I was really hoping I would, be able to lift my spirits and go on to YouTube and see 600 subscribers, but unfortunately it's only 599. So if you're listening and you aren't
That's because I
subscribed yet,
unsubscribed.
bum. If you're listening and you aren't subscribed yet, do us a favor, my friends. Get on there. Help us out. Because I'd love, just love to rebound from this sadness and go hit 600 tomorrow. So thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you follow us on all forms of social media. So that is YouTube, TikTok as well. And then Blue Sky, we're over at Blue Sky, and then X for a little bit too. And then follow us for your podcast so you know the next time we go live. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players, a Red Bull podcast. I mean, we both got the scarf, don't we?
Yeah, that's why mine's got three L's on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good one, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.